Spawn and his new ally are chased down by Bludd's vampires, but an unexpected visitor arrives before Spawn is put down for good. We're going to talk about it right here in our review of Spawn number 354 from Image Comics. See you in 3. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Spawn number 354, but before we dig in, let's take less than 60 seconds to review what happened in issue number 353. Spawn tracked down the mysterious killer gunning for Bludd near one of the Vampire King's mansions in upstate New York. The assassination attempt failed because Bludd had replaced himself with a doppelganger who was meant to take on any damage if he were to be attacked. Of course, the assassination attempt failed. That sent the assassin running right into Spawn, who was also after the assassin to prevent this assassin from killing Bludd, because Bludd possibly has the cure for vampirism, which he needs to cure Reaper. Meanwhile, Fixer, who is Jason Wynn's field agent, watched the scenario unfold from a safe distance in the nearby woods. That brings us to Spawn number 354. We begin with a flashback to 2 months prior to. Al Simmons is in a hospital waiting room, sleeping, dozing off a little bit. He's waiting for news about Terry's recovery. Remember, Terry had sustained a life-threatening injury due to a gunshot wound. Cyan comes into the waiting room and wakes him up and says Terry's going to be okay. And oh, by the way, I've heard from Wanda, who was, when the last time Al saw him, was in hell, and she says, I'm okay, I made it out of hell, please go on with your life. It's okay to let me go. That brings us back to now. Spawn and the assassin are racing through the woods, trying to get away from Bludd's private mansion as they're being pursued by a small squad of flying vampires. Spawn holds the pursuing vampires at bay with lots of gunfire, and that gives the duo a little bit of time to catch up to what they see is a motorbike that's stashed in among the shrubbery and the trees a little bit farther in the woods. The killer drives off, trying to get away from the vampires as quickly as possible, with Spawn riding on the back, and he's laying down cover fire to keep the vampires off their back. Meanwhile, Fixer is watching the whole scenario unfold from a distance, and he radios Jason Wynn for orders. Wynn says, go ahead and extract Spawn and the killer from the situation, but make sure the vampires don't see you. I don't want anybody tying you and your actions back to me, because Wynn and Bludd are supposed to be business partners of a sort. Fixer says, gotcha. He heads off, starts moving towards Spawn, but unfortunately he's confronted by a red-haired vampire and taken hostage. Soon after, Spawn and the killer make it to the nearby road on their motorcycle, but they're not fast enough to outrun the flying vampires. They're just coming in way too quick. The bike is toppled, and Reaper shows up, sends word to Bludd via his smartphone that Spawn has been captured. Bludd then taunts Spawn over the video feed and calls out the hero for being a fool and says, I'm going to show you how powerful I am and you have no chance of defeating me. So Bludd orders Reaper to kill himself with his own scythe. Reaper immediately complies, forcing the tip of the giant blade into his chest. Spawn starts yelling and screaming, telling Bludd to make him stop, but Bludd refuses and keeps going, pushing the blade into his chest. Suddenly, a green light streaks out of the sky and lands right in the middle of that group of fires and Spawn and the killer. And guess who it is? It is a longtime Spawn character by the name of Jim Downing. The former Hellspawn and Angel has arrived, maybe to save the day. And that's where we end the issue. Let's talk about the character development. Al Simmons gets a couple moments to shine here with emotions expressed in moments of pain or anguish or whatever you want to call it. In the first scene, Al receives the news about Terry's recovery and also Wanda's message to him to move on. He's clearly wrestling with a mixture of relief and sadness because he got good news about Terry's recovery, and really also good news about Wanda getting out of hell, but he's sort of sad that she's told him to move on, and that really sort of puts a close to the end of their relationship. Let's move over to talk about the artwork from Brett Booth. It's amazing. I mean, there's just not enough good things you can say about Brett Booth's artwork in this issue. The character acting, the figure work, the action choreography, the dramatic presentation, all of it looks fantastic. And then when you layer on top of that J. David Ramos's coloring, which is outstanding, then you have a gorgeous looking comic book from start to finish. Let's move over to pacing and structure. McConville, who is one of the writers on this comic, along with Todd McFarlane's scripting input, the script is smooth, energetic, purposeful. Even though we're not quite sure where the series is headed, it feels like at least it's moving in a direction. So it looks like you get the feeling that there's some plan in play, even if you can't see where it's headed. The plot gives readers an even mix of action. You get some soap opera-like plot developments with all the twists and turns and the people that are showing up and the cameos and the developments, and everything just moving with a good pace, lots of energy. Better yet, we get some little tidbits that are helpful for the bigger picture. For example, we learn that the killer's background, at least we don't get the killer's name, but we get the background to understand that they're a hybrid mix of both angel and demon, which is possibly why they are not affected by the dead zone encompassing the earth. And also, Jim Downing's arrival sort of implies that Green World is now getting in the mix, and whatever pause or quarantine that Nyx had put in place once she assumed the throne of hell might be over, and now things are starting to happen. Let's move over to talk about the themes in this issue. And overall, it's really all about sacrifice. Wynn lets Fixer put himself in danger to get his hands on Spawn. Spawn puts himself in danger to save the killer from Bludd's vampires, and the overarching objective of Spawn to find a cure for vampirism puts him at danger because he has to find a way to cure his friend Eddie, who is now known as Reaper. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture of where this issue fits into the greater Spawn verse. So as the main title, because this is Spawn, it's not King Spawn or Gunslinger Spawn. This is the series that probably spends the most time capitalizing on the fallout from the Heaven-Hell War in issue 350. The killer's background hints at a potential loophole in the Earth-sized dead zone, and Jim Downing's arrival as a possible agent of Green World could be like the foreshadowing event that's signals that there's something going to happen pretty soon with Nyx and the quarantine she's placed on Earth as the new ruler of Hell. Final thoughts. What do we think about Spawn number 354? It's a rock-solid issue in the series with fantastic art, interesting revelations about the assassin or killer, and the arrival of an old character, Jim Downing, that could foreshadow that there are some big developments that are happening with Green World and Hell and undoing the dead zone, but possibly not. We shall see, but it looks like things are starting to move. Therefore, we're going to give Spawn number 354 from Image Comics an 8.5 out of 10. Let us know what you think in the comics section. Are you following the main Spawn title, or are you following any of the Spawnverse titles that are not the main Spawn one? Like, for example, are you following Gunslinger Spawn or The Scorched? Let us know in the comments section if you like those other titles, or you just follow the main Spawn title and that's it. And if you like Spawn, give us a thumbs up. Let us know. We want to hear from you and know what you like as much as what we like. So thank you very much for joining. And if you like more reviews just like this one, please stay tuned through the outro.